There's an old quote that painters oftentimes paint the world they want to live in. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. Now, I reinterpret the world around me and put together elements that excite me, and oftentimes, I'm creating my own little utopia, if not in content so much, but maybe just the way it looks, with the colors and the edges and the juxtaposition of beautiful mountains or beautiful rivers with characters I would like to be a part of or know. I'm a romantic at heart, and painting gives me an opportunity with no strings attached to create this world that excites me. I hope it excites somebody else as well. I am Charles Michael Dudash. I go by Michael. I'm a Western painter, focusing on narrative Western stories from the 19th century. Born in 1952 in the small town Mankato, Minnesota. And my mother had gone to art school, so there's a lot of arts and music in the family. So they encouraged all of us to take whatever direction we felt we wanted to take. I started doing all these crazy drawings. It was a natural thing for me. It's no surprise to anybody, really, by the time I was an adult, I wanted to be a full-time artist.
This case, she's a friend of mine, Rosemary Von Trapp, and I had taken some slides of her a while ago. And I've used her in a couple of paintings before. She's a real character, so I thought she'd make a good demo.
For 25 years or so, I was a full-time illustrator. I did everything imaginable as an editorial illustrator, doing movie work, book covers, a lot of magazine work. But by the year 2001, I was sort of yearning to get back to my fine art roots, I would say. I just wanted to paint and draw and express myself as an artist, basically.
Lately, in the last year or two, I'm trying to get more into direct brushwork, get more back to traditional oil painting approach. I'm just having more fun with that.
For 4 or 5 years, I was painting all kinds of subject matters, landscapes, still life, figurative work, always occasionally doing portraits. I would say around 2006 or 7, I really settled onto what I wanted to do for the rest of my career, which is paint the Old West. It covered a lot of things that I loved painting anyway. I love painting landscapes. I was always very good at portraits and figurative work. I love history. I love the interaction of different cultures and all the cross currents of the Western expansion. It just seemed like a natural thing to do, so the journey began, you know. Western art really means a lot of different things. I mean, it's not just cowboys and Indians in a sense. And it begins really with the history of the frontier people. And those people, I read about them and what they were about and what they were like. The endurance, the hard work, the courage, the dreams they had of moving west. I mean, it was incredibly torturous and hard for so many of them, and many of them didn't make it. It's very inspiring. My paintings really are not about the West per se, but I like to think they're more about universal themes that affect all humanity, that cut across time and culture. Self-reliance, courage, fortitude, faith, family. Those sorts of themes are very integrated into the history of the West and the pioneers and the people who crossed the frontier. And so I use them as a vehicle to talk about greater human themes. Sometimes I have literally woken up with an idea or had a vision that I could almost see the painting in my head before it was done. I went and painted it in one day. That's rare. So you can't rely on that. Well, I'm going to make up a storyline later. Right now, I'm just trying to get the right angle with the best light, but also how we're going to take advantage of the scenery and the layout of the land here. Sometimes a painting is going to be about just a tranquil, beautiful scene. Other times it is a real story, could be historically based, that ultimately it determines how I make a lot of these kinds of decisions. Usually I show up big photo shoot with a half a dozen or more ideas already. I might even have a title for a painting, or I've got what they call thumbnail sketches. It starts out like this with just little notes, little thumbnails. Some of these are right out of my head, but this is enough for me to remember the idea and give myself a visual mountain man painting. In the snow scene, campfire, mountain men and Indians around fire, moonlight welcoming late arrivals. I like painting nocturnals. You could have a bunch of guys around a campfire and here comes somebody in. Here's maybe some mountain men fighting off a pack of wolves. I thought they'd be nice with maybe moonlight backlighting them. This is not that unusual, but this is an illustrator's process in a way. And I think some of the best Western artists that have ever lived were former illustrators.
I had these enlargements made, and I pieced them together, first of all, at a very small size. I just took these little Xerox copies, I put one head on a body, cut it out, and I better get it right at this stage, at the layout stage, the thumbnail stage, or I'm in trouble later.
So I want you to look left, look right a little bit. Sometimes you guys can look across the valley this way or up into the rocks. The whole point is just be natural. You're going to be pointing out in this direction. Okay, probably up at those cliffs there. I'm seeing interactions like that change the interaction of the front two horses, which is actually kind of interesting. The turn of the horse's head. Lewis, can you back your horse up, please? Will he back like 6-8 feet? And we'll see what happens, okay? Here we go. If we don't know where we've come from, how will we know where we're going? I think by having people focus on this romantic notion of what the American West is all about is much bigger than just the American West. It harkens back to something that's a little bit simpler, a bit purer, that you can wrap your head around, which is what the value of history is. We can learn so much about ourselves and the mistakes we've made as well as the good things we've done when we look at the history of the West. I think what's changed from my work over the years as well in this regard is taking greater care with what I paint, trying to make better choices, not only from an artistic standpoint, but from the storytelling or the symbolic aspect of the work. I do a lot of these paintings where obviously somebody's turned around looking in the distance, or they had a sense of danger. You know, it makes you get involved in the story, pulls you in, because it also then makes you interact with the characters. What do I want people to walk away with when they see something I've created? It'd be to take a moment out of their daily lives and respond to the beauty of it, respond to the story it's telling, respond to it in an emotional way that will make their lives happier, brighter, better, that will inspire them. I can't think of anything greater to strive toward as any kind of an artist or an actor or a musician or a sculptor. I know that's what inspires me when I look at great art. What else would I rather do? That's a good question. You know, put it this way, I don't take myself that seriously. I'd much rather be known for something that's much bigger, you know, like a a good father, a good husband, a kind human being, somebody who, whatever this means, made the world a better place. But if I didn't have to make a living, I would paint.